win no championship with 3 white guys because the foot speed is too slow. Shannon, what's your reaction to what LaVar said?
Skip, what am I supposed to do with my man?
I don't know. Help me.
Skip, we've defended him at every turn. He's so excited for his boys.
Yep.
His wife, their mom, and he, LaVar, has done a great job thus far getting Lonzo into school. Lonzo is going to go to the NBA. Looks like he's going to be a top 3, top 5 pick.
Yep.
But as I said before, he keeps writing checks that Lonzo has to cash. Because this is what he said, Skip, when he was asked about the Kentucky game, upcoming game. He said, don't try to beat them running, LaVar said, when asked the advice he'd give Kentucky. You can't outrun my boy. He's been running fast all his life. Don't play that game with him. That's what I see. UCLA has too many shooters. Too many. You give my boy that many shooters, and you're out of luck. So when did he realize that Lonzo had 3 white teammates? Was it, how about this, Skip? Let me put it to you like this. Was it before or after they went to Rupp Arena and beat Kentucky on their home court with Lonzo and those 3 white shooters? So did he think they just picked these white guys up before the tournament, or they were always on his team? Now, they won 31 games with those guys on his team. But because LaVar went out there on the limb, hold on, wait a minute. Don't do that. Because guess what, LaVar? Guess who was guarding De'Aaron Fox in the Kentucky game? It was him. It was your son.
Are you sure?
Yeah. You said nobody was guarding him. Nobody was guarding him, huh? And that's now you put the middle son in a very uncomfortable position because he's going to UCLA. Now, one of the guys that you were criticizing happens to be the son of the head coach at UCLA.
Yep.
So how does he navigate that dynamic?
I don't know.
After my dad has come out, because at the end of the day, that's still my dad. I'm not going to speak ill against my dad. We know that because we've had both of them on the show, LaVar and Lonzo. And although I believe Lonzo would wish his dad would pipe some of that down, Skip, he would never say that publicly. I don't believe he'll say that privately. He has too much respect for his father. So that's speaking like, Dad, I wish you would calm down. I don't see that happening. But, Skip, the thing that I hate is that this is what I speak out against, the racial stereotype, because we see it all the time, Skip, for the longest time. And you cover the NFL. The black quarterback, he can't think that fast. He can't process information. A black center, you can never have a black center because he's responsible for all the line calls and making sure and we see it sometimes, like when you see black athletes are athletic. White athletes are smart. We know the code. Come on, LaVar. If you want to, look, I get it. You love your son. You have the utmost confidence in his ability. But you can't blame someone for your son's loss without placing some of that blame on your son. Yeah. He was out there. Don't make no excuses. I don't want to hear nothing about no pulled hamstring. I don't want to hear anything. They got beat. They lost to a better team that night. It's okay. Your son is moving on. But for you to come out and say, well, we lost because we had 3 white guys and you can't win a championship with 3 white guys. Oh, yeah, you can. Duke's done this a lot of times. Actually, they did. And Villanova, the guy that was MOP, he was a white guy. So you can win. It just wasn't your time to win. It's okay. But don't make excuses for why you didn't win or why your son didn't play particularly well in that game. And that's what you're doing, LaVar. You're making excuses. Just accept the fact that on that night, Kentucky was better. But I can't defend this, Skip.
Neither can I. I am so with you on your overall point. I keep trying so hard to like LaVar Ball and to love the potential and future of his number 1 son.
He's easy to like, though, Skip.
I know. Well, we've had him on twice.
Yes.
But LaVar just keeps making it harder and harder for either of us to defend what he says.
Yes.
Because it gets worse and worse. Now, I'm going to get into this in just a moment, but there's some historical sweeping truth to what he said. But there are also, as you point out, and I'll point out further, some glaring differences, some stereotypes and examples of where teams with white stars and starters either went deep in the tournament or won the NCAA tournament.
Wisconsin.
Okay, I'll get to that in just a moment because they had 4 contributors, 4 starters on that team who were not black. But we're not talking about the NBA here. We're talking about college basketball.
Correct.
But here's the bigger picture, what disappoints me so much. LaVar is trying to teach his kids to win, but he's not teaching them how to lose because he just keeps making excuses and blaming others for their flame-out failures in their playoffs.
Correct.
Because the 2 younger sons went out early in the California State playoffs. They didn't even get out of the regional.
Right.
You know, they were in the semi of the regional. They didn't get to Sacramento for the state tournament. They flamed out, and he blamed the coach. Coach should be fired or my kid's not going back. The 3rd son's not going back next year. And now he's blaming the 3 white starters for Lonzo's flame out against Kentucky. But here's the worst part about it, as you pointed out. He's saying all of a sudden, out of the blue, breaking news, he popped a hamstring against Kentucky. Trust me, I know hamstrings. You know hamstrings. If you either pull it or tear it, you know hamstrings. You are done.
Yeah,
you are glaringly handicapped on the floor.
Yeah.
You are dragging it around. You are limpy or gimpy. It is clear to everyone you are having a hard time moving sideways or certainly running straight ahead, right?
And basketball is all about burst.
Oh.
You tweak that hamstring, you got no
Hey,
burst.
you are shut down.
Yes.
And speaking of slow-footed, as you pointed out, Lonzo was so slow-footed from tip-off, he couldn't begin to stay in front of De'Aaron Fox, who torched him and some of the other defenders, but mostly him, for 39 points. It was an embarrassment. And I tried to give him somewhat, Lonzo, somewhat of a pass because, as we asked them when they were here, the mom had suffered, reportedly, a stroke. And she was in the hospital, and it sounded pretty serious because neither LaVar or either of the 2 younger sons could even attend the game in Memphis against Kentucky in the Sweet 16. Well, he deserves somewhat of a pass, just some pass for that, right?
And LaVar made it seem like Lonzo didn't want to play.
He did not want to go.
He wanted to
be home.
He
talked Lonzo into, no, you go. I got your mom.
I got this.
I got my girl, right?
that's what
Okay,
he
he kept
said.
saying that. Okay, and that's great. That's enough. Leave it lay. Let it be.
Right.
You don't need to come up with he popped a hamstring to make some excuse because obviously Lonzo wasn't very good in that game.
No.
And it made me question. I've pushed him to be the #1 overall pick. And I had to say, well, okay, is it the mom? Was his head not in the game? Was his heart not in the game? Now he's saying he popped a hamstring. Now we get back to the white teammates. Let me tell you this. If you are going to have a white teammate, I'll take TJ Leaf, because he's a one and done.
Yeah.
He's going to be a lottery pick. He's going to be at the end of the lottery somewhere, maybe even a little higher. He's a 6'10" agile white guy.
Yeah.
And by the way, he badly outplayed Lonzo in both games against Kentucky. Just for the record, remember the game at Lexington?
Yes.
He was the player of the game. He had 17, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. And he got to do the interview at the end of the game on whichever network. It might have been CBS, I think it was. And then in the Sweet 16 game, he had 17 and 7. Didn't do much in the second half, but still he outplayed Lonzo, who combined in those 2 games to shoot 3 for 14 from the 3-point line. Not good enough.
No.
Okay? And he had 6 turnovers, did Lonzo, at Lexington, and they overcame the 6 turnovers and won the game. So I'm saying, wait a second. TJ Leaf, he doesn't deserve this because he's better than that. I'm not saying he's going to dominate the NBA, but can he start in the NBA? Yeah, I think he can.
But even if he wasn't better than that, he doesn't deserve a teammate's father to criticize him while excusing his son's poor play. But here's the thing: what's happening here, Skip? LaVar came into our lexicon by saying something outrageous. My son right now, who is a freshman at UCLA, is better than a 2-time MVP.
He did.
1 time he won it unanimously. So now where do you go from there, Skip? In order for us to keep talking about you, my son is better than Russell Westbrook. My son is better than LeBron James. I could have beat Michael Jordan if you talk long enough and you keep talking continuously, you will say something dumb. And this was dumb.